Yes.
I just wanted to ask Matt, so the extension from Broad to 115? Is that
Sorry, I can't hear you.
What the extension from Broad to 115? Is that provincially owned or is that owned by the Forest Consortium?
So that section of the highway is owned by the province right now.
Is that going to sell it off?
I hope not.
I hope there's no less there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, could you comment on the garbage dump going in on Wilson Road North?
So it's a soil storage. It has to do with soil, not
Supposedly
clean fill.
clean fill.
And
So a lot of people are harmed about it.
And the challenge with that is that that zoning falls under CLOCA in the city of Oshawa. The region doesn't have a position on moving soil and storing soil. So it's going through the appropriate process with the city. It is, the challenge you have with soil is you need some place to put it, because if you don't have a place to put it, you're going to stall some of the development that's going on. Because a lot of sites aren't large enough to put a large piece or a large amount of soil in one location. Now, we were told back when I was mayor on the Medallion property that they're going to try to manage all of their soil on that site, but that site's like 26 acres. So I am concerned. There's another one in Uxbridge that brings great concern.
The people living in the area still have wells. There are people with trucks coming in the middle of the morning or early in the morning or in the middle of the night dumping stuff. So they're concerned about contaminating the soil. Sticking to the rules.
Yeah, this particular site, the land is actually owned by Hardco. It's not a conglomerate. It's an identifiable company that owns the land, and it's my understanding from the little knowledge I have of it, because I'm not involved in that so much, is that it's for the work that they do.
I was just wondering, I'm not sure how much the region has in this, but are we ever going to hear what happened at the Pickering nuclear plant with the alarm?
So that's a really excellent question. So I can tell you it was one of the more interesting days of my life. So like everyone else in Ontario that had a cell phone or had their television on, I get the alarm. I can tell you before I got to staff had already got to the province. We knew that it was an error basically within a couple minutes. The challenge we have is that so the province's emergency operations center, they send out the message. They have to send out the retraction. So by the time 11 minutes later, I talked to our team, our emergency operations people. We started to bring some people together. We knew it wasn't an emergency. If in the event of an emergency, the way it's supposed to work is Oshawa Fire can control the siren systems for the 3-kilometer loop around Pickering and Clarington. Regional headquarters can turn them on, and our 911 call center and Durham Regional Police can also turn them on. Then there's an entire list of protocols that were to be followed. Not one was followed. So we've met with the Solicitor General to say that there needs to be a full and transparent review of what happened. We need the public, need to know. And we struggled to get them to get the actual release that came back out to your phone and to your TV. And if it wasn't for the president of the Treasury Board, Peter Bethenfalvey, who's the MPP for Ajax Pickering, being directly involved with the Premier, I don't think they would have done it. I think they would have just put a media release out and not let the people know. So all of that is under review. We've informed the Solicitor General that it has to be transparent, and the public has a right to know what went wrong. I can tell you that on the other side of all that, if you looked at how the Pickering and the Mayor Ryan and Chief Haig from the fire department reacted and how our regional staff, everything followed what was supposed to happen. So from our end, they did a very excellent job. But the province made an error, and if a person if you have an operator, an emergency operations center that has the power to notify anyone with a cell phone, they should also have the power to cancel that as well. And I can tell you that in the event of an emergency, we don't use cell phones because we're not able to tie into that system yet. But we can, when we run a test, we send out a message by a landline we have 100,000 numbers that get a message from the region, and we test it a couple times a year. And what we do is we start giving notice like 3 months in advance to make sure the public is aware of, we're going to do a test on this day and it'll be for this long. But you're absolutely right, you have a right to know, and the people in the province have the right to know.
The weather network that year report was a lot faster than the retraction.
Oh, it was ridiculous. We had people out there giving, Mayor Ryan was doing great work. We were doing what we could, but we don't, because it's nuclear, we don't have a lot of authority as a region or municipalities.
Who would have covered the cost of all replacing all the items?
You know, that's a really good question. I don't know.
Thousands.
I know that they were backlogged for, what was it, 37,000 orders.
Yeah.
So I don't know those, but I'm going to suspect that I will now ask that question, who's going to pick up the cost.
Did OPG initiate that?
No.
No.
OPG had no idea what happened. They were caught, they knew everything was running the way it was supposed to be running, and they were caught up in the same thing. And they were very excellent to work with, their communications. The CAO, you know, we actually had them come to our last regional council meeting. Our emergency operations manager actually listed the timeline and gave a presentation on everything that had happened, but it doesn't resolve how it happened at the province.
One thing about it, John, is that I think it was a good thing that it went off, because nobody was expecting it, and we'd have never found out all the screw-ups in it had this not happened. So there was a benefit to it going off the way it really did, because we'd have been lost. Had it been an actual emergency, think of all the screw-ups that would have happened then.
So the other challenge that we had is we knew that that alert system was available for weather warnings and for lost children. We didn't know that the province had gotten to the point where they could send out a nuclear warning because they hadn't told us.
Where are we at with dealing with the homelessness problem, particularly in Oshawa?
So it's not just Oshawa. So I know you see it here, but I can tell you that there's problems throughout the entire region. And it is a challenge that comes back to, there was a report delivered to Health and Social Services a little while ago that talked about homelessness, and it also talked about homelessness in communities where they have lost their manufacturing, their blue-collar jobs, and the direct relationship that it has to the people that are challenged. So when you look at the people that are homelessness, and then you can't talk about homelessness if you don't talk about opiates and you don't talk about mental health, because they're all exactly part of the same thing. So the region continues to invest. We have 2 housing corporations. We have social services. We have programs in place to help. But the other thing that we did recently, which is simply amazing, is we brought our staff together at the region. Now, for a lot of people, there's a lot of money in the existing system to help them. The only challenge is they don't file their income tax. So we've been working with people now to file their income taxes, to be able to get them health and social services, their social insurance cards, birth certificates. I can tell you last fall we found $600,000 of monies that were available through programs that exist to help people that they would have never found if they hadn't done their taxes. But the challenge is trying to build and maintain the housing structure we have, and it's a struggle. And I can tell you one of the great things that we've done is our paramedic, our mobile response unit, because it goes through the entire region now, and they carry information with them. They do basic first aid, mental health, and they can direct them to where people can actually stay. I can tell you that Airbnbs are a challenge because they've taken rental space off the market. You can hear that other communities, Montreal, Toronto, they talk about it all the time. So we're investing. We spend a lot of money in health and social services, and hopefully if you could create enough well-paying jobs and bring back some of that blue-collar work, especially around the potential of an airport, you might solve some of those problems, because hope is a job, a livable wage, the chance to have a home. You know, when you talk to young people today, it's depressing because they don't think that they'll ever be able to own their own home. You know, the pressure on young people today, because they all look at us and say, oh, my mom and dad had a beautiful place to live, and you know, my dad was part of that group at General Motors that he never went to high school. Finished up as a foreman, had a great life. There's a lot of people out there like that, but not everybody's going to go to college and university, so we still need to create those opportunities and those jobs that support those folks. So I'm not trying to skirt the issue. I can tell you we invest tens of millions of dollars a year into this, and we're working at it. We're hiring more paramedics, more police officers. We've got more social workers out there. We've also created, to deal with this, and it hasn't cost any money, it's called the Center for Community Justice. So one of the challenges we have is there's a segment of the population that will never be able to afford legal help in a rent tribunal issue. So there's something going on. Now there's a paralegal program at Durham College where each one of those students graduating from the paralegal program needs 120 hours of community service time to graduate. So through the help of Jason Hunt, our senior solicitor at the region, and Mark Frayne and Stephanie Ball at Durham College, a couple of professors, we created this hub that partnered with the Durham Legal Clinic. So now people who would never have any form of legal representation now have the ability through the Durham Legal Clinic to at least get a paralegal to help them with their challenges, especially the rent tribunal stuff. So there's no answer to this. It's just going to take a lot of people working together.
I realize this is far-fetched, okay? But I saw online that there was somewhere in Iowa, I think it was, where they gave the homeless homes, small little, some kind of units. And it all looks very rosy on paper or online. And obviously we know that it's not that simple. But have we looked at anything? Do you know about that program? And have we ever looked at anything like that?
So we actually have the first small home, modular home in Durham, in Oshawa right now, that's through the Durham Region Not-for-Profit Housing Corporation. And it's a container. And we've brought the first one in. Now it is nice, you can see it. It was open to the public a little while ago. They were offering tours. It is a start. It's a different way of thinking of how we're going to do this. The other part too is as we go forward, affordability has a lot to do with it now, and when land gets to be expensive and the challenge you have. And the other part about Oshawa, and that's kind of what makes Oshawa unique, is that you're full of the most caring community that you've ever seen. You've got the only full-time soup kitchen open in the region is here in downtown Oshawa. You've got your mental health services in downtown. You've got regional social services in the downtown. You've got all these agencies to support some of the people that have challenges. But when you meet somebody on the street, nobody asks their postal code. They're not. You see, folks, we're all connected in the community. You know that, a good portion of the people that are having challenges aren't from Oshawa or Durham region. But that doesn't mean that you don't help them. And if you listen to Matt Anderson at the hospital, who before he left to take on his new role, he used to say, if you want to fix hospital wait times, fix homelessness and mental health, and you will have and you will solve your problems in your hospital. And that's what we need to work towards. You go into the hospital on a Friday or Saturday night, and if you could be there a very, very long time. There's one more hand.
On the issue of children not being able to afford a house, a local article a week ago said that the average cost of a house in Orem is $643,000. I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's still a really large number. So anybody with children nowadays, how is that child going to even just start to think about it?
So, there's a great report put out by the Toronto Real Estate Board once a month that talks about affordability. In Durham, Margaret, correct me if I'm wrong, but in Durham, Oshawa has some of the best affordable housing. But you're right. And you need to rethink how we look at how you do have your first starter home. So for us in the room, our first starter home was probably nothing fancy. That you may have had a boarder, a tenant, realizing that you need some way to support that. Going forward, I have a daughter who just bought a house up in Fowler's Corners. And I look at how they've been able to make it happen for them. They don't have cable. They don't go in 3 trips a year. They don't have a big screen TV. They're not trying to emulate the Joneses. What they're trying to do is have. And so, you're right. It's a lot of money. But I think that's also our part to educate young people today too. That going forward, you're not going to have the $1 million home that your parents have. or the $500,000 home.
Fair enough. I think it's great that we bring in more people and more jobs and stuff and that. But when you bring in extra people and services, then your taxes go higher, the cost of everything ends up going higher. So I'm always looking for that balance.
So the big challenge for us at the region, and the example, as I said earlier, we had 6,000 employees. They're all contractual. So I'm going to say 5,000 are in union positions. So your paramedics, your police officers, your firefighters, your health and social service workers, all the nurses that work for you in the system and are all contracted employees that you negotiate equally and fairly to try to make it work for everybody both ways around. And it's hard. But we've been lucky. We have been able to, hopefully this year we'll be at 2.5%. But that means we're going to hire police officers again because that's what you expect. We're fixing transit because that's what the young kids need. But we have $14 billion worth of infrastructure that needs to be maintained. You know, you can't build a water treatment plant. I'll tell you, one of the biggest costs that we have in the city, any municipality that has sidewalks, the number one cost is liability related to sidewalks. For us, it's energy costs. And when somebody flushes a diaper down a toilet, it eventually ends up in a sewage treatment plant. And when you get enough of them, it burns the pump site. Now, simply not doing that, but we try to convey the message. We put media releases out. But there's simple things that we all can do to change how our lives going forward. And we're going to have to do that. Believe it or not, you will make decisions that will change the way you think, just related to climate. Because it's going to be a challenge. Yes? Well, we have programs that we do, but the challenge you have now is rents are getting higher than the ability for people to afford them.
Well, I was told though that people on disability can't own their own homes.
No, you're absolutely right. But even to rent is becoming a challenge now too.
So what are they doing about that other than what you just said?
It is, you're finding that you may find one or more people, you may find families reuniting to take the space, but it's a challenge because in the end, for every affordable housing unit that we build, the ratepayer, the public, the taxpayer has to pay for it. And I don't know about everybody in the room, but I know I pay a lot in taxes, and it comes to an affordability point of view as well. We don't want to drive people out of their homes to subsidize the people that don't have homes either. So it's trying to find a way to do that. And we spend a lot of time and energy and staff time dealing with that. The other thing that we spend a lot of time with that you wouldn't know about, but is human trafficking. Human trafficking in Ontario is something that you never heard about until a couple of years ago. And now you've got the challenges of human trafficking. Now, we were very lucky. Durham Regional Police got ahead of the curve. They put a task force together. They have officers dedicated to human trafficking, but the cost to society is huge. Now, I believe, and it's only my opinion, so if you see Colin Carey, you can tell him that I said this because he knows it, that we don't trial human traffickers under our code. We try it under international law, crimes against humanity, and use slavery. Because if you were a Canadian caught outside of Canada doing what those human traffickers are doing in Canada, you would not go through the Canadian justice system. You would go through something that's vastly different. And people that prey on young people today, both young men and young women, they are predators. And we need to publish their names. You need to know who they are. And I've spoke about this in public. It is terrible. And it's just something that's become new. And it is everywhere along a highway in Ontario. Don't think just because it's the lakeshore. It happens in the northern part of this region. It happens up in Timmins. It happens in Sault Ste. Marie. It happens in Windsor. This is not something that's just on a 401 corridor.
But John, that would bring the RCMP into the situation.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying you have to realize that you're going to have to work between the people.
We have a great relationship with all, but the government has to finally take a stand. You know, the government has to say that if you commit, well, when we met with John Tory last night, you commit a crime with a gun and you're let out on bail, you get an ankle bracelet. It's monitored so you know where the person is. If you commit a crime twice, you shouldn't be let out on bail at all. So we've met and we're talking about trying to do different things, but the challenge is 60% of all police calls that come in today are for have a mental health component. Hard to believe, 60% of all calls that come into the region of Durham have a mental health component. So I hope I haven't bored you. Oh, one more.
How many grow-ups are scheduled?
Oh, grow-ups in Clarington is like the green capital of Canada. There's 8. Another one that's under construction. I think the one that's under construction will employ 600 people when it's finished.
I think up in Clarington, we're supposed to be 4.
Well, there's more than 4 in Clarington.
4? I know there's one already existing, and there's supposed to be 4 more coming.
It's at Jerry's place, by the way. Yeah. Well, you know, so for, you know, who watches golf? Yeah. So you've heard about golfers now using CBD to help them with their aches and pains. Now, CBD is the non-hallucinogenic portion of cannabis, and it's really the medical component. What the other part is the tea. He's just smiling. He's just happy. Yeah. Well, it's great to see so many new friends and some old friends I haven't seen in a long time, and I thank you for your time, and please enjoy the rest of your evening.